Hello everybody and welcome to the traveling Showbunnygirl vlog. And this week's topic is stage fright. And I chose this topic because it's something that we all go through. Of course, when we go on stage in performing arts, we go through that maybe a little more often. Or maybe we've crushed that fright. Not really. But it's something that everybody can relate to because we are always performing. We are always doing something that is subject to approval or disapproval of people. When you choose your outfit to go out in the morning, we have different levels of how much we care. But in general, other people will just either approve or disapprove, even if they don't voice it. When I see someone, like dressed really well, I'm gonna think, wow, that's amazing. And when I see someone who is dressed in a way that's not really my taste, of course I won't say anything. But I'll probably think, I don't like that. We do that all the time. We just don't realize how much of our lives is actually spent on the stage in life. But from going to the school on your first day, taking a new course, going on a date, going to a new location, renting a new apartment, all of those things, we always have those butterflies in our stomach when we're about to do something new and in which someone else's approval or disapproval, for that matter, will affect us. And when we go on stage or when we are putting ourselves into this vulnerable position, it's even more so. Because honestly, if I'm just dressing to go to the supermarket across the street and someone doesn't like what I'm wearing, I couldn't care less. But if I go on stage and I've prepared for months and I took care of every single detail of my costume, I practiced, I rehearsed, I filmed, I rhinestoned, I did all of those things, and then I get there and I don't get what I want. Yeah, I know that can be a bit harsher than just being judged by my pajamas. So, yeah. So first thing I would like to say is, remember, you're not gonna die. I know, right? We tend to make things bigger than they are, actually. And honestly, whether someone likes whatever you're doing, either on stage or like going out to buy groceries, you're not gonna die because of that. So, first thing, it's not that big of a deal. Second, we all go through that. It doesn't matter how seasoned you are. I've been backstage with world-class performers, and they all have their different ways of feeling scared and having butterflies in their stomach, and even levels of self-sabotage. If you haven't heard, self-sabotage is when somehow our bodies are so afraid of getting out of our comfort zone that they will create a situation that seems out of your control in order to keep you from doing that thing and keeping you safe in your bubble. Remember, your brain always wants to keep you safe. We are wired to stay safe. We want to stay safe, we want to get fed, we want to belong to a community. There are things, that is like human, simply human. And well, you can just think of, wow, I'll show up, I'll do this, I'll go on stage, and then what if people don't like me because I don't have a certain looks, or because I'm not that good of a dancer, or because. And then suddenly, maybe a few days before that, you have this cold, and then your throat hurts, and then you have headaches, like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. And it's very funny because being there, done that, part of you feels a little relieved. Like, oh, well, there you go. I can't go. And part of you is like, a part that sometimes you don't even have, you're not conscious exists, is like, yeah, like I will create these conditions so that you don't go, you're safe, we don't have to go through that. What if it goes wrong? That's self-sabotage. It can show in different ways. Of course, there is also real stuff, but sometimes if you can think of it, if it's something small, it can just be, like your body, especially if it's something with your body. Of course, there is this external conditions, something can happen to someone else. That's different. But when it's about you, something that always worked, you always know how to do this turn, suddenly you don't. Have you taken a driver's license test? Maybe you've been driving your whole life. I remember because I had been driving for 6 or 7 years when I moved, and then I needed to do a test just to be able to have my driver's license converted to a Swiss one. And I knew how to drive. I drove every single day for 6 years. Somehow you forget. Suddenly you're like, I don't know how to drive anymore. Your body does those things, when you are afraid of performing. And well, there are several things to do. One thing that I like doing is, first, I remember worst case scenarios. Like, okay, what is the worst that can happen? Well, maybe I'll fall with my face on stage, and that would be funny, and well, actually, when I remember stuff like this, someone falling or so on, the audience was even nicer to them, because who doesn't love a comeback story? We live for that. So if something goes wrong, actually, people will root for you even more. Like, okay, so that's not worst case scenario. Now, what if something breaks? What if, and all of thof those things, all of the times I think about things going wrong, like, well, actually, it's not that bad. So that's one thing I tell myself. So I play I'm smarter than myself kind of game. I do breathing exercises, which I share with everybody, and it's as simple as it gets. I practice not that much, but I've never been the biggest meditation kind of person. But one thing is your breathing, and I remember that because when I was younger, I was much bigger, but unhealthy. So I was diabetic. And one thing that happened, I always had hypoglycose or something, when your sugar levels are really low and you can faint. And I used to take the bus, to go places. And sometimes there was no place to sit on a bus. And then that's when it got worse, because I don't know, when you feel like you're gonna faint, you have to sit, you have to put your head, between your legs and things like this. So I remember that I was standing on the bus, and there was I saw a video or something. Your breath can help you control your body functions. Because the first thing that changes, and I had that repeated to me later on in life for another thing, the first thing that changes when you start to feel anxious or unwell is your breathing. You're going to start to have short breaths. So if you notice this and then you go back to controlling it, because we can control the way we breathe, and stop it from happening, and start to take deep breaths. Really take it in for as long as you can, and out longer than in for as long as you can. I don't even count, because I know some people say 5 in, 7 out, or 10 in, 12 out, but what matters is that it's longer when it's out. You're gonna be able to stop this kind of snowball from happening. And I did. I remember I was so proud of myself. I was in this crowded bus, and then I started, my sugar feeling like my sugar was going down. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'll breathe. And then I just did it and it worked. And then for the longest time of my life, I forgot about it. And this is the thing that I do and I tell my students to do before a stage. At that very moment, behind the curtain, behind, like waiting, for the host to announce you on stage. And you have that little moment. It's different for all of us. For me, it's a moment of, why am I doing this? Literally, why am I doing this? I don't have to do this with my life. I could have a different job, I could have different things, but why am I doing this? I'm so nervous. And that's the moment I do this. I spread my toes on the floor so I can feel the floor, really grab. And I do this breathing exercise. And I'm positive it works in many different areas of life. It can help you control, your body from getting to places you don't want it to go. And there is these things you can do before too. I also shared this before. I also like to do power poses, which is also very widely known. So you can make yourself really big, extend your arms, chest up, which is also very good for showgirl posing. And will make just your posture and will make you feel better. Sometimes people forget that the action comes before the feeling. So those days you don't want to do anything, you are on your couch and you're like, okay, when I feel better, I will do this and this and this and this and this, and you have those lists. But actually, it's the other way around. You will start to feel better when you start doing those things, So one thing that I recommend also people doing is shimmies, like shaking. So you shake your shoulders. Of course, you can also shake your hips and everything. Because you can't stay in a grumpy mood, like when you shimmy, you just smile. It's natural, when you just shake your body. So you can do like shimmies, you can just shake your body. I like to just start doing things, and then if things don't get better, then I'll stop. Otherwise, I keep doing. And yeah, so that's it that I wanted to share for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.